As a 15-year parent-teacher organization PTO nerd, here's how I wrap up the end of every year so I can feel accomplished and ready for the upcoming year. So I really like to tie everything up from the past year all up in a nice little bow so that I can feel like I have wrapped up all the loose ends so that I can have a really nice summer break where I am not worried about what is coming up because I know I have everything prepared. Now, I follow the same process each year, whether I am staying on in the role or I am transitioning out of the role and I'm going to be handing off the position to a new incoming officer. It's the same process because you still have to mentally get all of your ducks in a row and physically get all of your ducks in a row too, so that you can be organized. And when I am handing things off to a new person, there is a little bit more work involved just because I want to set them up to have all of the resources that I have to make it as easy as possible for them to do their role. First of all, that's just the kind of person I am. I like to equip others with tools. And secondly, that's what I would want from someone else. Like I would hope that they are giving me everything in a really good, organized way so that I can make sense of it quickly and I can learn what I need to do and kind of get into my role without spending too much prep time. So the very first thing I do, and I actually start this kind of earlier in the year, the school year follows a natural pattern where for me, it seems like up through spring break seems like the regular year. And then once spring break hits, I feel like we are in the home stretch towards the end of the school year. 4 years when I'm going to be transitioning out of one PTO. So like if my kids are graduating or promoting up to the next school, then I make especially sure to start this process really early. And that is by figuring out what PTO property I have at home, stuff that's migrated home after events, things that I need to get back to the school so that the other PTO leaders can use them because it's PTO property. So it needs to be returned to PTO office or storage space, closet, or room, whatever space that you have in your school. Get things back there so that they are out of your home and decluttered. You can declutter your own home. Maybe it's decorations from after prom that, it was 4 a.m. in the morning when you were wrapping up after prom. And so everything is in the back of your car. Make sure to get that back to school. There are office supplies that have come that you maybe use to put together fundraiser packets. Anything like that. Just look around your house and see what you have that isn't yours and get it back to school. The next thing I do is look on my computer and see what files I have created throughout the year that need to go to the PTO's shared cloud file storage system. So my group uses Google Drive. I look to see what I've created that needs to go up there. And since I use an Apple and most people are not using an Apple, I export it to the Word version and then pop it up in the cloud file system so that the next person can use it. I make sure that the files are in the right format for use by future leaders because it is so much easier just to tweak an existing flyer or a document than to create it from scratch. I want to save future people more time by giving them the resources that they need. Then they will have a nice starting point and won't be starting from scratch. Because to me, that is one of the most frustrating things about PTO land is that so much of what we're doing just feels like we are on a wheel doing the same thing over and over. And you have to recreate that wheel. And to me, that is frustrating and it doesn't have to be that way because if people just retained that information and made it available in a format where people can use it, that would save everybody a lot of time. Also make sure to write up summaries of what I did in my role throughout the year. So if I was planning events, so let's take the after prom role, and I did this a couple years ago. And so I documented like all of the fundraisers that we did, what worked about each of them, what didn't work so well, what suggestions I had for changes, like what would I do exactly the same, what needs to be tweaked a little bit, and what I would totally skip altogether. So that information is such good gold to pass on to the incoming leader, especially if they've never served in the role or if they've never done that specific PTO position before. It's really going to help them give a leg up. If you don't have an idea of what to include in your summaries of the events and your role, all of the success kits in my shop for the different officer roles have the summary forms in them so that you can just follow along. It has all of the prompts to get the information out of your brain and down onto the form, ready to pass on to the incoming officer. Or even, it's really good for you to remember. You'll forget some of the details a year from now when you're next doing it again. So it'll act as a memory refresher. I know it's come in so handy for me, especially if there have been a couple of years in between the roles, but I didn't always remember some of the specifics. So it was nice to refer back to these forms, because when I made a copy for the incoming officer, I put it in the officer binder, and I also put it in the group Google storage, cloud storage, so the Google Drive. I also kept a copy for myself because I wanted to be able to reference information in case I did the job again. Super handy tool for yourself as well as others. And the forms in the success kits are actually set up so that you can type the information in, so you can have a digital copy completely, or you can print it out and handwrite it. But it makes it super, super simple to capture all of the details and the specific information that you're going to need. The next thing is that I always organize my officer binder. I just make sure to get out anything unnecessary, that papers I've collected, and this is an example one, so this isn't actually my current officer binder, but like any handwritten notes that would not make sense to other people, I kind of get that information out. Here's an example of the event planning form. It's hard to talk over these big binders, but it's a multi-page information organizer, all ready to document all of the details for your event, all the tools, and then the summary. So this is for events, and there's also one for your specific role on the board. Every officer should be filling out one of these, because this will help with retaining the information that you need to know and gathering the experience of your volunteers so that you can improve the group. And it's also going to make it easier to recruit new leaders, because they're going to know, especially if you have the success kits, they're going to know that they have literally everything they need in one place. And that is going to be so helpful for like peace of mind for them, so that they know they are going to have what they need. Peace of mind for you, so you know that they have some past information to go on, and that they're just not totally just making it up. It's super handy. So the last thing that you need to be doing, or the last thing that I do, I should say, these of course are all recommendations for you to be doing as well, is that as the end of school year approaches, if I am transitioning out of a role, I kind of just make a list of like the most important things that the officer needs to know. If I have not already included them on that board summary sheet, and really it should be kind of there. A lot of times there's so much information to pass on, so that you should identify a list of the most important things for them to remember and really highlight those during your officer transition meeting. So I hope this has been so helpful in helping you to get mentally organized and physically organized and prepared and ready for the end of the school year, so that you can know that you are wrapping up your position and doing everything that you need to do to put yourself in a good position for the next year, as well as equipping the incoming officer with the information that they're going to need to effectively do their jobs too. I hope that you will join me for my next video. Want even more guidance on how to be a stronger leader so you can run a better PTO or PTA? All of these resources and more are waiting for you at PTOanswers.com.